Aloha, everyone. How are you? This is Tamara Mackay of Redtime Stories, here to bring you news of what's going on here and nationally and talk about corruption and to expose those stories that we want to hear about. Right now, we're talking about finally the Republican Party has put their differences aside and picked, I think, a very good choice of a Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. And so that's the first in the step first good step in the right direction, and hopefully we can learn from this and move forward. We had our preferences, but I think that some of those people might be better where they're suited on, so they can further push on with investigations and help be the backbone and the strength and the direction that our party needs to run in. We definitely need strong leadership in the Republican Party. And it's time for change. We're losing our country, people, every day. We're seeing it. We're looking, more and more about, in a single direction rather than in a people direction. And we're losing our Constitution and our freedoms. There's concerns about these smart cities that they're planning all over the world. We have issues on Maui still. People have not been placed, and they're living homeless because of the major fires and the irresponsibility in the leadership of the Democratic Party, and as well as Maui County, and not taking care of our own. And it seems that they're hoping that this goes away and is swept under the rug. And we can't, as citizens, not just here in the state of Hawaii, but nationally, we cannot continue to look at the next best thing when things come up and forget about that we still have Americans that are hurting in this country, when we're sending billions of dollars overseas and we're not taking care of our own, and we have open borders. So the only way that we could stop this is if we pull together and we work together, we get involved with our party, and we stop being armchair quarterbacks. We have to get together, and just like my friend Terry says, it's time to lock arms, and we have to stand united. You guys, we're on the brink of losing our country. And if we don't like what's happening now, get involved. Change only happens with you. And we have to do this now, or we will not have a future for our children. So, what I wanted to share with you, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about some other things that are going on and locally and across the way. But I wanted to share with you, if you didn't get the news and you don't know who Mike Johnson is, I'm going to share a little bit about his speech, his first speech on the floor.
I want to express my great thanks for our Speaker Emeritus, Kevin McCarthy. Kevin has dedicated over 2 decades of his life to selfless public service, 16 of those years in this House. And you would be hard-pressed to find anybody who loves this institution more or has contributed more to it. He is the reason we're in this majority today. His impact can never be overstated, and I want to thank him for his leadership, his friendship, and the selfless sacrifice that you and Judy have made for so many years. You helped build it, Kevin, and we owe you a great debt of gratitude. I want to thank the dedicated and overworked staff of this beleaguered House. They accept praise so stoically. But Miss Susan Cole, our House reading clerk, and yes. Listen, all the clerks and all the staff, you know, they're terribly overworked. This has been a grueling process, but they have served an integral role in keeping our republic, and we thank them for that service. I know we all do. I want to thank my dedicated wife of almost 25 years, Kelly. She's not here. We couldn't get a flight in time. This happened sort of suddenly. But we're going to celebrate soon. She spent the last couple of weeks on her knees in prayer to the Lord, and she's a little worn out. We all are. I want to thank our children, Michael and Hannah and Abby and Jack and Will. All of our children sacrifice. All of them do, and we know that. And there's not a lot of perks to being a member of Congress's kid, right? And so I want to thank all of your families as well for what they endure and what they've had to endure for the last few weeks. We've been here a while. Yeah. I want to thank my faithful mother, Jeannie Johnson, who bore me at the age of 17. And my brothers, Chris and Josh, and my sister, Laura, and all their families, and all of our extended family. In Louisiana, family's a big deal, and we got a bunch of them. I especially want to thank all the extraordinary people of the great state of Louisiana. We have never had a Speaker of the House hail from our state, and so they've been lifting us up. I thank the people of Louisiana for the opportunity to serve you in Congress, and I'm humbled by your continuous support. We will make you proud. To my colleagues, I want to thank you all for the trust that you have instilled in me to lead us in this historic and unprecedented moment that we're in. The challenge before us is great, but the time for action is now, and I will not let you down. I want to say to the American people, on behalf of all of us here, we hear you. We know the challenges you're facing. We know that there's a lot going on in our country, domestically and abroad, and we are ready to get to work again to solve those problems, and we will. Our mission here is to serve you well, to restore the people's faith in this House, in this great and essential institution. My dad, it was mentioned, my dad was a firefighter. He was an assistant chief in the fire department in my hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana, a little town in northwest Louisiana. On September 17th, 1984, when I was 12 years old, he was critically burned and permanently disabled in the line of duty. All I ever wanted to be when I grew up was the chief of the fire department in Shreveport. But after the explosion on that fateful day, he nearly died, and it was a long road back, and it changed all of our life trajectories. I'm the oldest of 4 kids, and my dad, he lived with pain all the rest of his life for decades more, and I lost my dad to cancer 3 days before I got elected to Congress, 3 days. And he wanted to be there at my election night so badly. I'm the first college graduate in my family. This was a big deal to him. And so several weeks after that, it was early 2017. It was my freshman term, and it fell to me to be in the rostrum one night to serve here as Speaker Pro Tem. I thought that was a big deal until I figured out that's what you do for freshmen late at night. And I think if my memory serves, Miss Jackson Lee was winding down one of her long, eloquent speeches. And not that I was not enraptured by her speech, but I looked up at the top of the chamber there, and I saw the face of Moses staring down. And I just felt in that moment the weight of this place, right? The history that is revered here and the future that we are called to forge. And I really was just kind of almost overwhelmed with emotion. It occurred to me in that moment, it had been several weeks, and I had not had an opportunity yet to grieve my dad's passing. And I just had this sense that somehow he knew. And I had tears come to my eyes, and I was standing here, and I'm wiping them away, and then it suddenly occurs to me, the late night C-SPAN viewers are going to think something's very wrong with the new young congressman from Louisiana. It wasn't Sheila's speech. I'm sorry. I just knew in that moment that my dad, my father would be proud of me, and I felt that he was. And I think all of our parents are proud of what we're called to do here. I think all the American people at one time had great pride in this institution, but right now, that's in jeopardy. And we have a challenge before us right now to rebuild and restore that trust. This is a beautiful country. It's the beauty of America that allows a firefighter's kid like me to come here and serve in this sacred chamber where great men and women have served before all of us and strive together to build and then preserve what Lincoln did refer to as the last best hope of man on earth. We stand at a very dangerous time. I'm stating the obvious. We all know that. The world is in turmoil. But a strong America is good for the entire world. We are the beacon of freedom, and we must preserve this grand experiment in self-governance. It still is. We're only 247 years into this grand experiment. We don't know how long it will last, but we do know that the founders told us to take good care of it. I want to tell all my colleagues here what I told the Republicans in that room last night. I don't believe there are any coincidences in a matter like this. I believe that Scripture, the Bible, is very clear. That God is the one that raises up those in authority. He raised up each of you, all of us. And I believe that God has ordained and allowed each one of us to be brought here for this specific moment in this time. This is my belief. I believe that each one of us has a huge responsibility today to use the gifts that God has given us to serve the extraordinary people of this great country, and they deserve it. And to ensure that our republic remains standing as the great beacon of light and hope and freedom in a world that desperately needs it. It was in 1962, that our national motto, "In God We Trust," was adorned above this rostrum. And if you look at the little guide that they give tourists and constituents who come and visit the house, if you turn in there to about page 14 in the middle of that guide, it tells you the history of this. And it says very simply, these words were placed here above us. This motto was placed here as a rebuke of the Cold War era philosophy of the Soviet Union. That philosophy was Marxism and communism, which begins with the premise that there is no God. This is a critical distinction that is also articulated in our nation's birth certificate. We know the language well, the famous second paragraph that we used to have children memorize in school, and they don't do that so often anymore, but they should. G.K. Chesterton was the famous British philosopher and statesman, and he said one time, "America is the only nation in the world that is founded upon a creed." And he said it's listed with almost theological lucidity in the Declaration of Independence. What is our creed? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, not born equal, created equal. And they are endowed by the same inalienable rights, with the same inalienable rights: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. That is the creed that has animated our nation since its founding, that has made us the great nation that we are. And we're in a time of extraordinary crisis right now. And the world needs us to be strong. They need us to remember our creed and our admonition. Turmoil and violence have rocked the Middle East and Eastern Europe. We all know it. And tensions continue to build in the Indo-Pacific. The country demands strong leadership of this body, and we must not waver. Our nation's greatest ally in the Middle East is under attack. The first bill that I'm going to bring to this floor in just a little while will be in support of our dear friend Israel, and we're overdue in getting that done. We're going to show not only Israel, but the entire world that the barbarism of Hamas that we have all seen play out on our television screens is wretched and wrong, and we're going to stand for the good in that conflict. We have a catastrophe at our southern border. The Senate and the White House can no longer ignore the problem. From Texas to New York, wave after wave of illegal migrants are stressing our communities to their breaking points. We know that our streets are being flooded with fentanyl, and all of our communities, children, and even adults are dying from it. The status quo is unacceptable. Inaction is unacceptable, and we must come together and address the broken border. We have to do it. The skyrocketing cost of living is unsustainable, and Americans should not have to worry about how they're going to feed their family every week because they can't afford their groceries anymore. Everybody in this room should think about this. Here's the stats. Prices have increased over 17% in the last 2 years. Credit card interest rates are at the highest level in nearly 3 decades, and mortgage rates are now at a peak we haven't seen since 2001. We have to bring relief to the American people by reining in federal spending and bringing down inflation. The greatest threat to our national security is our nation's debt. And while we've been sitting in this room, that's right, the debt has crossed almost $33.6 trillion. And the time that it's going to take me to deliver this speech will go up another 20 million in debt. It's unsustainable. We have to get the country back on track. Now, we know this is not going to be an easy task, and tough decisions will have to be made. But the consequences, if we don't act now, are unbearable. We have a duty to the American people to explain this to them so they understand it well. And we are going to establish a bipartisan debt commission to begin working on this crisis immediately. We all know that we also live in a time of bitter partisanship. It was noted, and it's been on display here today. Right? When our people are losing their faith in government, when they're losing sight of the principles that made us the greatest nation in the history of the world, I think we got to be mindful of that. We're going to fight. We're going to fight vigorously over our core principles because they're at odds a lot of times now in this modern era. We have to sacrifice sometimes our preferences because that's what's necessary in a legislative body. But we will defend our core principles to the end. In his farewell address, thank you. In his farewell address, President Reagan explained the secret of his rapport with people. And I like to paraphrase his explanation all the time. He said, you know, they call me the great communicator, but I really wasn't that. He said, I was just communicating great things. And they're the same great things that have guided our nation since its founding. What are those great things? I call them the 7 core principles of American conservatism, but let me concede to you all, I think it's really quintessentially the core principles of our nation. I boil them down to individual freedom, limited government, the rule of law, peace through strength, fiscal responsibility, free markets, and human dignity. Those are the foundations that made us the extraordinary nation that we are. And you and I today are the stewards of those principles. The things that have made us the freest, most powerful, most successful nation in the history of the world. The things that have made us truly exceptional. In this time of great crisis, it is our duty to work together, as previous generations of great leaders have, to face these great challenges and solve these great problems. I will conclude with this. The job of the Speaker of the House is to serve the whole body, and I will. But I've made a commitment to my colleagues here that this Speaker's office is going to be known for decentralizing the power here. My office is going to be known for members being more involved and having more influence in our processes and all the major decisions that are made here, for predictable processes and regular order. We owe that to the people. That's right. And I want to make this commitment to you, to my colleagues here and on the other side of the aisle as well. My office is going to be known for trust and transparency and accountability, for good stewardship of the people's treasure, for the honesty and integrity that is incumbent upon us, all of us, here in the people's house. Our system of government is not a perfect system. It's got a lot of challenges, but it is still the best one in the world, and we have an opportunity to preserve it. Last thing I'm going to say is a message to the rest of the world. They have been watching this drama play out for a few weeks. We've learned a lot of lessons, but you know what? Through adversity, it makes you stronger. And yeah, and and we want our allies around the world to know that this body of lawmakers is reporting again to our duty stations. Let the enemies of freedom around the world hear us loud and clear. The People's House is back in business. Thank you. Thank you. We will do our duty here. We will serve you well. We will govern well, and we'll make you proud in this institution again. We're gonna fight every day to make sure that is true. I look forward to the days ahead. I genuinely believe in my heart that the best days of America are still ahead of us. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, well, it looks like we may have a winner in the Speaker of the House seat, which I'm pretty excited about. I liked his speech and what he had to say, and really what stuck out to me is it's the People's House is back in business, and I hope that it stands for our country, that our country is back in business. Again, as I said before, we watched the speaker's first speech and his swearing in. We all have to be proactive in how we want our country to be, and we can't do that if we keep our voices silent. So, with that being said, use Mike Johnson as an inspiration and get involved, or encourage those to get involved. Hawaii is a challenging state; it's a blue state, but the way that we can move forward and save our country is to get everybody involved and look at where we have come from. It's been a tough couple years, from COVID to fires, and there's a lot of people who are having challenges in moving forward, and the government it right now is not looking out, in my opinion, for the best interest of the people. When we have our own that are living in streets, dying, are not having their well-being taken care of, like for example with the Maui fires, and there's fires all over the world. Is it a coincidence? Well, that's maybe for another story, as people think it's conspiracy theory, but it's kind of frightening when we see similarities happening all over, and land grabs, and it's the billionaires that are benefiting, and it's the human beings that are suffering. And we need to take a look at these manufactured companies. Like for instance, there's another company that was allowed to come here in Hawaii that's manufacturing seeds. We can't afford that as human beings. We need to start pulling together. We need to start a bartering system, growing organic seeds to share, and not putting manufacturing processed items in our bodies, and foreign injections that haven't been tested, such as vaccines. And I know everybody has their opinion about that, but we are also seeing a lot of people having reactions from those vaccines, as well as dying. But before we, go on, we'll continue. I want to go ahead and recognize our sponsor, Be Nourished, and they're an all natural product, one of the best products on the planet. So stay tuned.
Honey. It's one of the greatest gifts to man. With millions of wildflowers in every bottle, the nourishing power of honey is still yet to be fully discovered. Be Nourished Healing Products combines healing ingredients from around the planet to the purest honey from the island of Maui to bring magic to your taste buds. The best honey from the most beautiful place to nourish your body, mind, and soul. From our hearts to yours, be nourished.
And don't forget to check out their products at nourishmaui.com. And when you do get your products, don't forget to enter Liberty to receive a 22% discount on your purchases. The best honey products on the planet, that's for sure. So back to what we were saying, each state needs to step up and get up. We need to get together and get not only candidates, but we need to ensure election integrity. And it kind of goes hand in hand. If we have great people who are running and willing to put themselves out there in order to run and stand up for the people, the voice of the people, and the Constitution, we also need a fair election for people to run. I believe that the conservative Republicans are ready to make a change, and I believe we can start with taking our county council seats and attracting bipartisanship and bringing people together. We need to show people there is another way, and it's the right way, so to speak. So it's time for a red wave, especially here in Hawaii, well, nationally, of course. Um, we're coming around the corner in our presidential caucus here in Hawaii. So far, we have two candidates that have submitted their paperwork officially that will be running for the caucus that's going to be in March. And you can find out more information about that and how you can get involved if you're a Republican or conservative or want to know about the caucus. You can go to www.thehawaiirepublicanparty.com. That's thehawaiirepublicanparty.com. You can also, we have it directed from hawaiirepublicans.org also goes to the same site. But the two candidates that are official here in the state of Hawaii so far is Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. We just received her paperwork in, and we are looking to hear from Tim Scott as well as DeSantis. So I know there's more candidates out there, but we haven't heard from them. But for sure, we do have Donald Trump and Nikki Haley, who will be in the March presidential caucus for the Republican Party. This is the time for everybody. Again, I'm going to say this over and over again because it's so important that we pull together. We have issues going on And those issues that are getting worse, we can't put our heads in the sand. We need to pay attention to what has happened in Hawaii, in Maui. We can't forget that. We have people who are suffering. Cost of living is high, and it's $1 billion boys club that's going on over here. We also have our brothers and sisters that are suffering from the conflict over in Israel. And I know, I hope that I'm going to play a little a newscast of what is current going on over there, and this should make everyone angry, because even though it's a conflict going overseas, what is our part as America that we're taking and being involved with that, especially, and Ukraine, and we do have monies that are being financed over there when we have our own that we need to be taking care of. But I think it's important that we share this, because we want to get excited like new people with Mike Johnson, who looks really positive, but we also need to get angry to make us really stand up and make a difference and take back our country and take back our world. So let me see if I can get this up here for you, because I think it's really important to share. And we'll come back and talk a little bit about that as well. Well, as you can see, that everybody is facing some terrible situations over there in Israel. And, we keep our thoughts and our hearts and prayers for those who are innocent victims on all sides of the spectrum, the women, the children, the families that are being attacked, kidnapped, and taken away from their homes, that have no control of what is happening to them. We need to support our fellow human beings. I also want to remind everybody they're still taking donations for Maui fire victims at calvarymaui.org. And please put on, if you're contributing a check, just put on the bottom for Maui fire relief. That would be great. Otherwise, many of the items that people can still use, which will help with the economy here. A lot of people are out of jobs and it's running slow, but gift cards are probably the best thing, so that they could go and take those gift cards to local merchants, gas, restaurants, food. Um, all that you can give in a gift card type will help stimulate the economy over here in Hawaii. I'm going to go ahead and, end a little bit early. I just want to again put those thoughts out there for you to get involved. Um, we have an opportunity to fight back. 2024 could be our last chance, everyone, and we talk about it every week in solutions. The solution really is very simple. Stand up, share your voices, get involved, run for office, support candidates, donate, get involved with your party, or get involved with election integrity. I really appreciate everyone who supports this channel and Liberty Arise channel. We really appreciate it. We want to get the voices out. We want to answer your questions. So please feel free to contact me at rightasred@pm.me. That's rightasred@pm.me. Send in your questions, your show ideas, or even if you'd like to be on and voice some of your concerns and your opinions, everyone is welcome. But I really appreciate you, and I look forward to our future guests next Thursday, same time, 3 o'clock Hawaii Standard Time. And remember, the truth has no fear.